Okay.
My signal is kind of weak, so I'll be bouncing in and out between video and not video, just as
Hi.
the signal speed allows.
Okay.
Hi, Edith.
We don't
Hey.
have a president
How are you
yet.
doing?
Good.
Did you get my message this morning, Pam?
I did. I'm going to work on it this afternoon. Although a lot of the stuff that's on there is not stuff we need to worry about because we don't really do bill pay out of that account.
Okay, good. Thank
But
you.
I'll double check it to make sure we get everything done. And I look at it. I'm not sure that I actually got an email version of that. Maybe they just mailed it.
Yeah, they just mailed it.
Yeah.
It came in. I didn't even notice your name until I opened it up and saw it was addressed to you.
Uh-huh. Well, we can change that if you want.
I'm happy it's addressed to you. I think a lot of the account information.
As long as the people
gets
there
mailed to
know
me,
who it belongs to, I guess.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Rodney, where are you?
I am at Sandy Creek Park.
Oh, okay.
And it is closed today, but I'm in the park today.
Mm.
I guess I guess it's a holiday.
It's always closed on Mondays.
I did not know that. Okay. I guess the staff need a break. They can't live there.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
I
Joe.
had some,
Hey there.
How's it going, everybody?
good. How you doing, Joe?
Good.
Everything's on
Hey,
fire.
Joe.
We're
What's up,
already
Jay?
Like that
rolling.
old school shirt.
You like that?
I need to
dirty.
guys come and check out a tree at our
You
house
have to
because I
know
noticed it's not
somebody
dying.
who knows somebody to get one of those shirts.
That's right. Yep. OG. So what's going on, everybody? Sorry, I'm late. Just got out of my appointment here. So what did I miss?
I went ahead and you haven't missed anything. I just already started the live stream, so
Okay.
you're good to go.
Awesome. Well, yeah. pretty light meeting this time around. Operational organizational issues. I didn't put anything for that or any time sensitive issues. Does anybody here on this committee have anything they want to bring up?
No.
I guess we should talk about maybe, so we're going in person for the next general meeting with the option for WebEx next month.
Okay.
Is that correct?
I think so.
Okay. Is there any organizational issues that we need to work out for that? Do we have we settled on the auditorium? Is that what the plan is?
I thought they voted for August to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no
Because-
July meeting, but there is a June meeting. So we have one more virtual meeting, and then in August, we'll start with the live in person.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. I like that.
Are there no meetings then in July?
That's correct. We take a brief recess in July. Yep.
Usually there's not a lot going on in July.
People on vacations and
That,
Probably.
yes, that too.
yeah.
I think too, because such a huge component of university staff was on the council traditionally, that it worked out for them. I think it's just something they came up with, but I'm happy to take a month off too. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that squares that away. I had forgotten that we were going to do that in August, so that's good. So we'll plan on doing just regular status quo meeting on WebEx next month for both the council and committee work groups. Let's see. I don't have any voting items at this time. There may have been one that we missed. It. Sean had a voting item about being an Adopt Athens site for the Larry Morris. So we can just vote on that next time as a council.
You wanted to go ahead and withdraw the Moon Tree work group.
Yep, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, the Moon Tree seems to be rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Looks like there's enough awareness now that we could probably step back. So that's awesome. That's kind of the goal, you know.
Yeah.
So that's great. Did promotions committee get something out about the dedication? Can't remember if we did or not.
I posted that they were going to have that dedication, and I think a couple people went. I couldn't make it myself.
I
don't
think
know if
there
it got
was a
posted on
Facebook
social media.
posting from the tree council on it.
Awesome.
Oh, good.
Awesome. Cool. Let me see. I'm blocking my email here. We had some latecomer work group agendas. I don't think we have anything for new member. Is that right, Rodney? I didn't see anything come in.
There was a note saying that the two people that are rotating off both want to renew, and that they need 2 more members.
Okay.
So that's something that we need to work on. But I don't think they made any specific recommendations about, how to get the word out. I guess we have to put it out on social media, or do we have, Rodney? Do we have to announce that somewhere?
It will need to be announced. The opening needs to be posted publicly. I can have the public information office do that through the county bulletin notice. And it would also be good, if possible, to have some kind of a press release about it. Social media,
Okay.
whatever, whatever ways it can be distributed to the most people.
Do we have a standard
Right,
that goes to WUGA?
A standard.
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
think so.
Seeking new members.
Like a sound clip for the
Yep.
radio?
Yeah.
I don't
There's
remember ever hearing anything at WUGA.
There's some old media release literature in the files that could be adapted for something like that.
We do have a star Athens radio personality here on the council. It's actually in this exec group right now.
Oh.
I don't know if y'all knew.
So it wouldn't actually be a sound clip, Joe. It would be a PSA is what they accept for something like that, where you just write up a blurb, and then anytime an announcer needs to fill a certain amount of time, they'll read that live on air.
Oh, okay. Are those free?
Yeah, it's a public service. It can't be like an advertisement for something, like it can't be like for a business per se, but it's perfectly suited for our needs.
What
Yeah.
about a tree ID on the Greenway, an event, which is advertised?
An event like that, yeah, because you're not selling something. That actually is another perfect example of something that could be announced via a PSA, and it's a great way to get it out to the public.
I think there's people that listen to the radio.
I think so.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Based on the number of people that still ask me about morning edition, I would say absolutely.
A lot of our clients too, when I walk up and first meet them, they say, "Oh, we heard about you guys on the radio." So
Okay.
it's definitely, there's a big listener base for sure. So I think that's a good idea. We can definitely talk about that. Let's see here. 12:18, so we are. Yeah. We can let Sean know if that's an option. Can get something going on the radio. I think that's a good idea. I'll make note of that.
That could definitely be an action item for the tree council agenda to go ahead and start to initiate the hiring process. And then once the council votes to approve that, I'll call public information. They will put an application on the webpage. So it'll connect to the tree council webpage, and then there will be a shut-off date for the gathering of patients. And so the council should decide what that date should be as well, that shut-off date.
I've forgotten what the lead time is that's needed between the time the council chooses the new members and it goes to the commission, mayor and commission.
Yes, so ideally, in order to get the new members appointed by January 1, we should be getting the tree council's choice for nominees to the mayor and commissioner by the end of September, early October at the very latest. I don't think the mayor and commission meets in December, which means it has to be on the agenda setting session in October to get on the November. So sometimes it can take 2 months to get on the agenda. That's why. So yeah, so ideally it should be on the October agenda setting session so that they can vote on it in November. And then once they vote
And
on,
the people that are running a second time, they have to probably get in some sort of statement too, right?
yes, I generally just submit that along with the choice for new members, and they just pretty much automatically let people know if they want to. They pretty much follow the tree council's suggestions for nominees anyway.
So kind of by September, we'll need to know who we're gonna choose. Is that right?
Yes. So really, it would be good to have the due date for applications the end of August, which gives us September to do our interviews and get our choice sent into the mayor and commission's office by early October.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let's see. Here we work with agenda. Google Docs. There we go. Okay, so let's move on. Phil said no trees for tomorrow work group will be held today. Did we have something where trees for tomorrow is going to, I guess trees for tomorrow and grants writing are going to be working together kind of going forward. Is that right? To maybe find kind of that connection of what grants could be obtained for what sites, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say that there'd be some overlap. Rodney, are you thinking the site that we looked at by Timothy Road and the loop?
Well, I just wanted to show you what I about options. You know, there may be some other options. I honestly haven't focused on finding potential sites or things, but that is one that I know about. So yes, that would be a good match if you can find a grant that would support that site.
Yeah. Okay.
About how many, is it pretty wide open slate, or did we come up with like, for this amount of frontage, we can probably use like 5 trees, or is there any budgeting that's been come up with for that one, or is it still pretty open?
There is no county budgeting. That project was started with funds, which have not been, there was no capital funds worded for the last fiscal year, and we're waiting to hear about this upcoming fiscal year. And then it would also depend on, you know, I don't have control over that budget, so it would depend on, you know, make a decision.
Yeah, I guess I was
So
thinking more
short
like
answer, currently
when
there
y'all
is
looked
no
at,
budget.
sure. When y'all looked at the site, did you kind of determine like, oh, we can probably use 5 trees here, you know, and then that way we can back into a number that we want to request grant wise. Like if there's room for 5 trees and we know that each tree is $700 planted, then you know, then we know to ask for that much money or whatever it is. Did y'all make any determinations in terms of how much plant material will be required?
There's 2 different kind of locations up in that area, and one is pretty much prepped and ready for trees to be planted, and it could hold probably 5 trees or so, 5 or 6 at the most. And then there's another site that's covered in volunteer loblolly pines that would have to be cleared off first, and it would it would need more of a plan and also coordination probably with GDOT because ownership, I think it's half GDOT and half Clark County, but I'm not sure. So all that would have to be worked out. So that's a longer term kind of a situation there for sure.
Rodney, I forgot who the owners were for the site where a good many trees had been taken out, and the homeowner had spent a lot of time and energy and money, apparently, landscaping his new sunny front yard. Is that county
Yes,
property or GDOT property?
that is county property. And the owner requested, you know, small trees. He had red maples, but I suggested maybe Japanese maple may actually work better there, and he was fine with Japanese maple.
Okay. So GDOT will not, I'm not sure, will they fund on county property or just GDOT owned property?
Well,
It would
it
actually be,
depends actually. So there's some made roadways that go through county that are kind of GDOT controlled.
Uh-huh.
That one, yeah. So the GDOT grants on the main roadways going through, they will, yes. And whether Timothy Road or not would be, I don't know. All that would have to be looked into, checked on.
I was gonna say, y'all were looking at those GDOT REBC grants.
Yes.
So that GDOT right away may be a good opportunity for that. I will say that those are extreme. I've done a few of those and they're extremely time intensive. They may have gone harder on us because we were a civil engineering firm,
Yeah.
but they required like actual site surveys, topographical surveys, utility surveys,
Wow.
and then required us to know the exact mile markers and, you know, like not just what the nearest mile marker is, but like using AutoCAD to figure out this is at mile marker 13.961
Wow.
to mile marker 14.043. And, you know, several, probably 5 or 6 rounds of permit review before we got approval. So
So we're talking about years from now. Yeah. Yeah.
it took us about 2 years to get one done, and we lost a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not impossible. We've got landscape architects that have AutoCAD, and I think that'd be a fun project for them. But those REBC ones, at least, you know, coming from a civil engineering company, putting the plans together, they were a bear. They may go easier on us because we're just a little 501c3. I don't know, but it's probably worth a conversation to the REBC office first and just let them know, like, we don't have AutoCAD, we don't have huge budgets for, you know, topographical surveys and things like that. I mean, is this something that we'd be able to do without a lot of that information?
So Jeannie has a working relationship with some of those folks, and they do work in collaboration with each other. So I would recommend letting some of those initial conversations through the county. I think if it's doable, it would be, you know, I think it would just smooth it over and help expedite it on some level.
Yeah. I saw that the city of Hull got one last year. Also, the Sierra Club's gotten one. Um, the Outdoor Advertising Association of Georgia, um, the Garden Club. One of the things we didn't look at too was there was another one. It was alternative transportation, which I guess would be the Firefly Trail. That might be another angle,
Definitely.
and maybe not as labor intensive to apply for.
Definitely. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you know, there probably is some degree of you know, I think they went pretty hard on us because we were a civil engineering firm, and they just tend to go harder on some folks and easier on others. So yeah, I think Rodney's right. If we have the county kind of backing
Oh,
slash helping with it, it'd probably go a long way. But I think it all just starts with those conversations, just reaching out. But yeah, Rodney and I can help if you need us to. I probably have far less pull than Rodney does, county wise, but we've got some other guys, other folks on this council that are really good with AutoCAD design. So if they require us to do that,
One would be
we do have to. What's
Pat
that?
too, that he had done one of the grants a couple of years ago.
That's right. Yeah, Pat's got experience doing that, and he has AutoCAD. He has Civil 3D on his computer at home, so he's capable of doing it. I think if they require us to do a full topographical and utility survey, that could get expensive quick.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to talk to them and see what they require. There's a manual, actually. It's pretty in depth, but there's a GDOT REBC manual that kind of goes through the steps of what you need. I had that on my old computer. I don't think I have it anymore, but you can find it online. So.
And their 2021 application is not online. They said the application period is not open. So I wasn't sure about that, since last year it was May 15th was the deadline. So I guess we'll wait on that to hear from Jeannie. And I'll go ahead and try to look at the alternative transportation grant that they offer.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk to Jeannie. If she doesn't talk to them, I'll ask her if I can talk with them. And so we need to first start out by just figuring out who owns that parcel or how much of each part of the parcel, and just kind of see if people are open to that idea or not. That'd be the first step, basically. And I can initiate that. I will need a little time though. I'm right in the busiest part of my tree echo study. So that's pretty much taking every ounce of any available time I have at the moment. So I think realistically I could start floating those conversations probably in September.
Okay. Oh, so I was wondering, how did I become chair of the grants anyway? I feel like this is a little bit like the blind leading the sighted.
That's how I feel about the presidency.
We can relate then.
I think we all just kind of get placed somewhere and lean on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would view my role more as just coordinating, and then also just to see if anyone else in the group feels that they're perhaps more qualified to be chair. Um, one of the things I did
I think
feel
everybody thinks that they're just great with you doing it.
I think you're doing a great job. I do.
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and I think you're
probably
doing great.
for time, I think, and being I'm naturally bossy, that might be my only qualification.
That's all you need. Just delegate it out. Find somebody that's qualified to do the stuff you don't know, and just tell them to do it.
What
Absolutely.
I think we do need is, because there were about probably 9 or 10 grants that we might be a fit for. And some of them had similar goals. Seems like we do need a spreadsheet that, would have the dates the applications are needed and, what their goals are, whether matching funds are needed. Although I kind of tried to stay away from those.
How are you on spreadsheets?
I haven't done one in years.
Yeah.
Would
I
anyone?
mean, if you give me the information, I can put it into a spreadsheet for you, but I just don't have time to collect the information.
I've collected a lot of it, and that would be wonderful, Pam. Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, there were about 10, and I'm, trying to track the dates, and we may have a lot of the information on old grants we've done before, but we'd have new goals. So,
Uh-huh.
and then maybe I could just list two, the ones I've looked at that did not seem to be a fit.
Right. We could put that down on the bottom or on a separate sheet that said we looked at these, and so that at least we have a record that they were looked at.
Yeah, yeah. So that's hugely helpful because I keep looking at my list and just, every month and just to see that we're trying to stay on top of things.
Sure.
One of the other ones coming up was Synovus, and where did I put that? That application period was July 1st, and I did email the Habitat folks because one of the goals was services that help low to moderate income communities, and I was thinking in terms of lowering utility bills if we paired with Habitat to plant trees on some of their properties. So I did email Spencer Fry and Charles. Can't remember Charles's last name. To see if there are any projects that they have now where they might need trees planted. But I haven't heard back, but I'll follow up on that. I did have a question about the grants work group. Is it also fundraising or is it just grants?
It's both, but it can, it's kind of it can be what you make it. Since they kind of go a little bit hand in hand, we just put them together. But,
Yeah.
Nothing is set in stone here. We can rewrite group names, and organizationally, it makes sense to divide things out.
Well, as long as it fits with our bylaws, we can't just change things willy-nilly.
Yeah. I didn't want to be
Yeah.
mission creep.
I think a work group is not written in the bylaws, though, so work groups can be altered easily.
Right.
I know Mary and I
Motion
talked about the Caterpillar. I was looking at the largest employers in the Athens area, and they don't give grants per se, but they do have and give a list of nonprofits to the employees every year and encourage them to donate. So I'll follow up with Mary to see if we're on that list. If we're not, I'll try to pursue it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And the other thing we talked about in the education group was to charge a registration donation, not to charge it, just to request a donation. Because when the Winterville Tree Council did their tree ID, a lot of the people said, well, why is this free? Why didn't you charge for it? But if we charged a minimal amount, I don't know if it'd be worth the effort. I mean, even if it was $5, I mean, if we had 50 people participate, would that be a drop in the bucket? Or, I mean, should we even bother with that?
Have a you know, like a yoga class, feel free to give what you can, but no requirement, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of a friendly way to do it. And, you know, if somebody can't afford $5, but they really want to learn about trees, that's fine.
No, someone might enjoy it so much they donate 100.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Give what you can, give what you feel is appropriate. I think, I don't know how y'all feel, but, you know, for something like that, it's an open community thing, and we would do it for free anyway. Just,
Yeah.
like, that's my opinion, but, you know, feel free to, you know, discuss and there's other ideas.
I
Okay.
had to
Hey,
think,
Lee.
Hey.
I had to thought when you,
Hey,
whatever people are willing, they're able to give.
Okay.
I don't have anything
I'll
for landmark and champion trees work group. Um, Nor do I have anything for the Larry Morris. Um, I guess we can continue talking about grants until it's time for the, actually, promotions committee's not meeting either.
Right,
So,
and Trees for Tomorrow is not meeting, so.
do you think the Larry group and the Champion Tree group are not meeting? Because that's why I jumped on.
okay. Yeah, let's see.
I guess not, because nobody else is on for that.
I did have a question about the Larry Morris site. I remember someone mentioning there was a good deal of floodplain and it's county owned. I mean, I wonder if that would be a grant opportunity.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, it definitely could be. I don't know that there's a lot of available planting area back there because it's mostly overstory. It could be, um, you know, there's kind of a small clearing that we were going to put those three. It could be an understory. I don't know. That's a good question. Let's see. I have Sean's agenda here. There's an action item to vote to apply for the Adopt Athens designation for the planting location. So I think we probably need to do that as a full council with a quorum, if I'm not mistaken. Unless we can get away with doing that as just the, well, I don't think the work group would be able to vote to approve that. So we'll have to put that action item on the next council meeting for the CTC to vote on. But yeah, you know, I guess that is our time slot now. Yeah, Lee, did you have anything you wanted to bring up in terms of as far as the Larry Morris work group?
No, I thought it was meeting, so I just jumped on for that and the Champion Tree group. But if they're not meeting, I will jump off until policy at 2. And Edith, I'll see you tonight.
Yes, at 7. Thank you for the invitation.
It was a wonderful idea.
Okay.
Hey.
And from Sean for the champion trees. Do not. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess in that case, Edith, if you had any additional stuff to talk about with grants fundraising, we can do that, or we can hop off until 2 when the policy committee meets.
Okay. So with the champion trees, we don't have any other items with that, right?
No, no.
Okay. Well, I'll be back on at 3 then. See.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, everybody. I guess we will hang out, and y'all feel free to hop off if you need to. The next item is policy committee at 2 p.m. So, yeah.
All right. Good to
Yeah,
see everybody.
good to see y'all.
You too, Joe.
Hey, Rodney. Uh-oh. Froze on me.
Are
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm out in the field. Uh, my video will go in and out, and I
Okay.
may have to
Okay.
do a little bit
I'm
of
gonna say
driving also while we're moving.
that's okay. I really just wanted to keep talking with you and Lee about the things you've been thinking about. So if Lee doesn't chime in a couple of minutes, maybe we may call it quits for this month and pick it up next month.
That's fine. I just need to move out of the park, and then I can park by the road, and we can still meet.
That sounds good.
My video goes in and out, and there's a lag time. That's the main thing.
Mhm. Okay. Rodney's remote, so his video is going to be in and out, but he's here with us.
Okay.
So really, I just wanted to continue the discussion. I wanted to back up a little bit and talk about where the money came from for trees to get a better understanding from Rodney for maintenance and that pipeline, like who asked for it, how is it allocated. But then I wanted to keep talking about what you guys were talking about with the zoning and development and the future potential zoning and development. You all right with that?
Mhm.
Okay. So, Rodney, I think I've asked this question before, but if you can walk me through the general pathway of funding for when you, like, how do you get funds for maintenance? Like, do you ask for it? Does another department ask for it? How do you get it and how is it allocated, I guess is.
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that question. I do not ask for it. That's not part of my position.
Hmm.
Essentially, there's a budget allocation,
Mm-hmm.
and then we work within that allocation.
And does that go to Jeannie? The allocation goes to landscaping, or does it go to central services? And or who do you ask for? Like when you ask for money, or who gives you the money? Is it landscaping or is it central services?
I'm not the best person to ask this question. I
Okay,
really honestly can't answer it. Well,
okay.
basically I have an account number that's been established for my budget.
All right.
Otherwise,
Who do you turn your budget into?
I work with Jeannie.
Okay,
On my
so
budget.
Jeannie gets the budget. All right, so she's the one that's asking. I will ask Jeannie. I'll start there at least. It's probably bigger than that. All right, awesome. We can move right on to zoning. So Lee, I haven't seen the map that Rodney created that you showed, but if I'm understanding correctly, Rodney was showing you something he was thinking along the lines. He created something thinking along the lines of a zoning map and future zoning, future development map, and then he overlaid basically the worst case scenario, full development, and what that does to the canopy. Is that what you looked at? Something like that? So, because you kept saying most of the trees come down in single family housing. And I was like, that can't be true. And you're like, no, it's true. I saw the map. And so I think what you're talking about is the potential for the canopy to be
The map that I saw in Rodney's office was layers, the inventory layers. And and he can describe this much better than I can, but it was showing all of the single family residences throughout the county.
Yeah.
And in one color. And so if trees come down in that one color, it would be absolutely devastating. But Rodney can describe it much better because I'm not even sure what I was looking at.
Yes, so I think earlier this week, Mary, I sent you a copy of the 20-year comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I went online and looked, and I'm familiar with that. I mean, that comprehensive plan and that map.
Yep. And page 77 has the future land use map.
I looked at that.
The community tree study project that I am engaged in right now is using that map, and what it has done is pulled out all the current single family residential areas within those areas that are lighted up as single family residential for future use. I know for a fact we're losing a lot of trees in those areas because there's a lot of developments going in right now. I've been doing plan reviews on a ton of neighborhood developments, and of course, whenever one of those development goes in, they're clearing probably a majority of the trees off of them. Not always, but often. 2/3 or at least a third of the trees, depending on the development.
Right.
And I sent you some information about the total. I can't remember the exact amount, but I think the single family residential by itself, as it is currently reflected in the study that I'm doing, is, what did I say it was? 15%?
I think you said 14. I think it's actually a little higher than that.
It's almost 15% just in single family residential. And if you count multi-use areas, it would be higher.
Yeah.
And that does not account for all those areas, that stratification, or all those areas in the future land use that will eventually succumb to development.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to stop you because you used the word succumb.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And so I think we may have to have like, you guys, I mean, you may want to be looking at that map with some new eyes, kind of, in that like, so what you are wanting is the housing pressure to not overtake the trees. And
I don't have an opinion. I don't have a want at all. It's really based on what ordinance allows.
Well, right. So, but what you're saying is like that you see the
when I use that word, I'm talking about the tree canopy coverage as a whole, which I have an interest in because there's an ordinance to maintain a minimum of 45% tree canopy coverage.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So I would encourage y'all to think about like, so just the general direction that town is going, we're going to, at a minimum, probably increase in residents by 100,000, which almost doubles our population in about 10 years. And so, and that doesn't include, like, the university up until the pandemic had added 1,000 students every year, and they didn't add that many bedrooms. So we were also getting an additional 1,000 students that needed somewhere to live, not homeowning, that that is not being compensated in the community. And I actually, and the current thinking is, in fact, is that the density is the way to go. So like if you are going to, that density will alleviate a lot of the burdens. We don't have enough workforce housing, or we don't have enough single family housing at every level. So if you have money, you can build in Athens, as we're seeing in 5 Points getting pretty heartily redeveloped. And they're taking big lots and putting really big houses on them and taking out the trees. So I think a useful way to move forward with that is to think about, as we get denser, which is really going to happen, how do we connect the canopy? Like how do we encourage the canopy to be left, not just like the article you sent me about the adjacent properties or the value of properties with trees on them, like that value won't be matched ultimately. The value and the necessity of the house or building will ultimately be greater than the value of the trees on the side lot. But as a council, like if we are encouraging development, to think of the whole canopy and to consider like what the map looks like at the end, because as you're saying, planning is doing a lot of plans review, and they do them one at a time. They really only consider that piece of parcel of land, and they don't really have any tools that let them consider that parcel of land within the spectrum of like what that means for the whole canopy. So I don't know if there's a way to develop that.
With the preserved tree canopy coverage requirements, that's the way that is addressed.
Yeah. And so that, but in town, like I also want zoning to be changed from RS1, but I actually want it to be changed for a very different reason than y'all do. I want it to be changed to allow greater density and greater development in town, so that the pressure, so we don't end up with a lot of suburban development.
Well, research shows that that approach can be quite effective. So there's merit to that approach for sure, especially if you can do that in a way that creates green space, especially if you can connect those green spaces.
So I think any kind of reminder from us, any kind of development of that language to help them have those tools where they're just thinking about it, instead of well, I would do that. I wouldn't think it would be helpful to just put up a barrier, because ultimately the pressure will be too great. Like the commission's not going to not solve a housing problem, or not solve a mental health crisis, or not solve a medical, health needs for the trees. Ultimately, they're going to want to put them.
Development is going to happen, and it is not going to stop. And the only direction for development in the county is infill.
Yeah. Well,
so
there's actually a lot of undeveloped. I mean, if you go out, on East Athens, there's more to be developed. I mean, when you see it with the developer's eyes, there's a lot that hasn't been developed yet.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of parcel and a lot of canopy out there. I
Yes.
understand that. And
Yeah.
more and more of those parcels will be used. The long-term approach is the only real way to sustain, desired goals. And so revisiting those long-term approaches, the comprehensive plan is a part of that. It's a big part of that.
Mhm.
And really formulating a strategic management plan for, an urban forest, urban community forest strategic management plan that aligns with the comprehensive plan is really the only way to effectively do that.
And that is part, I mean, that is phased, I'm not sure which phase, but that is a phase of what your iTree study will lead to, what you're hoping to, right? It's to be able to have some good dialogue along those lines. Is that true?
Yeah, so I'm working in that direction of
Okay.
Producing a strategic management plan that will require a lot of community feedback from a wide range of stakeholders
Mhm,
in order to understand what the Athens community wants.
mhm.
Very much the same way as the charrettes that you're engaged in with the 100% clean energy.
And the group that did the group that did the development for North Athens, the redevelopment of Bethel homes, they did a really good job with community outreach and getting a broad cross section of participation during COVID. I was very impressed with their ability to get a lot of good opinion and a lot of a good compromise. You know, that people were seeing it on the same playing field by the time they were done. So I thought they did a really good job. I can't remember that development group's name, but it was good outreach.
Education can play a role in this as well. You know, this is a secondary growth. It's really, well, I don't know that, I don't see the hard data yet, so I can't say this definitively, but my sense is that most of the canopy consists of pioneer species, which in the natural, and it actually can work in an urban environment as well, as long as you direct it with some intent. But basically, there's this idea of forest succession. So forests undergo all kinds of clearing all the time. Different, what they call stochastic disturbances, fires or floods or different events that wipe out canopy, and then they regenerate. Development could be considered to be a type of stochastic disturbance.
Interesting, like that.
This challenge with the development is the loss of soils,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're replacing trees, or if you're thinking about trees, ideally you'll be thinking about long-lived trees that will provide more benefits over a longer period of time. So if you can make those trees more successful by giving them good soils and ample soil volume space, they can be more successful and then grow into those large trees, which then can provide those long-term benefits.
So
And that's
let's
really
talk.
the conversation and the education that can help the community to direct the growth and change of its urban forest with intent.
So taking a cue from Joe, like when I was talking policy with a group and Joe's like, can that be some format that's more digestible, which is translating, can other people understand it? So, I mean, I think we could do a lot to make that something that's digestible, like that, you know, it's literally like the elevator pitch that Ernie was asking for, you know, it's like that we develop this kind of like urban canopy succession, how do you
Well,
spell
I
that?
have hosted these events before, and I've collected the data on them. Like, I'm
Mhm.
well versed in how to do all this.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
also pretty good
specifically.
at summarizing complex um, concepts, but you can only dumb it down so far.
So, well, we're gonna have to get. I mean, we're gonna have to really work on that because honestly, the appetite. I'm actually talking about this the elevator pitch for planning and the mayor and commission, like to have it in street language. That's probably ironic to use that, but you know, for that we can always be saying while they are doing, they are also working on how does this development happen. You know, they're working on it from the infrastructure point of view and the roads and lighting, police force, you know, all those things. And so we need to always be in there, and trees, you know, and how does this work for trees? So we need an elevator pitch for planning, so that we can, so that this doesn't get dropped out, or at the end where they've planned things and they've got Aaron's looking at it, but like we look at it a little bit more intensely. Like, you know, we have a slightly broader view, you know, than a planning perspective. You know, the forester perspective is different. So I would love to develop an elevator pitch for planning, and you know, and I'll I'll start one, and then you make sure I'm not lying. That's what that I'm truthful in what I'm pitching. That's how I would go.
I'm sure Lee is well qualified to
I think so too.
initiate something like that. It really, you know, my perspective is engaging in suggestions that are, you know, based on research and best management practices. And there really is absolutely wealth of information on from the planning perspective on how to do that. Most well-qualified planners will have already had a lot of training in all of this.
I find that they wait, like when I talk to them about it, they wait. They're like, they know that's out there, but that their focus gets pushed by other development interests. And so we need to push a little so that we're a development interest.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, you basically have to take a seat at the table and have your input heard, or it will get it'll never come to fruition. So you're 100% correct about that.
Have you graduated yet, Lee?
Yeah, my grade just got posted about 10 minutes ago, so it is official.
Congratulations. So now that you're graduated, would not this week and not next week, but like, would you be willing to start thinking about like this kind of like bringing a pitch to like making so that this vision is in the forefront of the mind, not necessarily from the technical point of view. When we get down to the budgeting, when we get down to the brass tacks, that's where all the technical, like exactly how much space the tree needs, exactly how much soil the tree needs. But just a reminder that these are things we should be thinking of all along the way. We can't think about it at the end because it won't happen.
Well, it's
I
not,
will be, sorry, I was going to say, I will be glad to work with you on that. You and Rodney are communicating on a level that I'm like not really up to speed on. So it's interesting to listen to it. And I don't really know what you are envisioning, but I am really good at taking, you know, you tell me what you want and I can get it down and put it on paper and condense it. And I am happy to work with you for that. But I can't come up with this on my own because I really don't know where you're going with this.
That is going to be, we're going to be a really good team because I'm a good fire starter. I can rarely put them out. So I will need some help containing. We want it to be a controlled burn.
I'm a detail
really
person.
important
I'm not an
part of
idea
that,
person.
in order for that elevator speech to be heard is for decision makers to understand that the community actually wants all these things.
I think we have, in all of the things we've done, the Envision Athens and all, I mean, we have so much data that says that people want this green space in their community. And like you know, they don't necessarily want to take care of it and they want to make sure it's pruned so it doesn't damage their building. But we have a lot of data that says that people want this already.
Yeah, the challenge is getting private property owners to agree to, you know, green space that aligns with their neighbor's green space, to have those contiguous areas. You know, the county's doing a pretty good job with its green space, its greenway trail system, which is an initial connection of the entire county, which I think is pretty awesome. Being such an old community, in the way it has grown organically, you know, from a planning perspective, it's hard to get those contiguous areas through private property owners, and there's a real challenge in that.
So
You
one
know,
thing I'm finding, oh god, yeah. One thing I'm finding in the language for like parking lot trees is that it's the way they ask for it. So the way they're asking for trees in the private developments when they redevelop or they build, I think we can ask for better language so that it's clear that the property owner has an option. And I think there may be more property owners than we realize willing to take the option to begin to connect and have contiguous green space. But they don't, the language isn't phrased like that. The language, as you know, is phrased to percentage, caliper size, setback requirement. So the language, we need to work on the language to be more inclusive for the option. Because the homeowner could always take that option, but when they read the rules, they follow the rules. The builder does, you know.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's certainly room in the ordinance for evolution. There's no question the ordinance can be improved. It needs to be improved, really.
Yeah. They just did a housekeeping. I missed that one.
It didn't change anything substantive.
It changed our group a little bit.
They changed what?
It changed the name of our group and
Oh, well,
yeah, but things like that, you
yeah.
know, so
They didn't, yeah.
yes.
What it
And the
did
tree
do,
species list.
I'm actually really excited about it because we have the updated tree species list. But there were some in the previous version of the ordinance, they had actually misquoted the references as some of the requirements, and we were able to get those to align with ISA best management practices. So now the ordinance standards really are in alignment with ISA BMPs, and there's quite a bit of there's quite a bit of room to over time to emphasize different aspects of those BMPs to make changes over time, and that it's now ordinance. It's basically it could be required.
So my first experience with the changes was we're doing a small development on Barber Street, and we have to put back 3 trees. Well, I should probably put back a couple of more, but you can't have like a third of your tree. Like if you have to have different species. So if you have 10 trees, 3 can be one, and 3 can be one, and 3 can be one. But with only 3 trees, we can't do a mass planting. We have to do 3 different species. You know, which is so that's an interesting. There's a lot of things like that where the scaling of things doesn't match as well. I mean, it won't make a difference one way or the other, really, canopy wise, for the 3 trees we plant. But there is some scaling issues as far as which affects home building more than larger, you know, more like larger tracts, you know.
Yeah, so species size and age diversity are all really important for the urban forest.
Yeah.
So that would be an example where you could have perhaps, you know, like neighborhood sort of, you know, different neighborhood themes or whatever, and then that could be done better. And that is absolutely would come down through a planning perspective.
Then do we end up with a bunch of elm streets with no elms in 100 years? Is that, that's how that goes?
The diversity is really critical for the health of the urban and community forest. It really is.
I know, embarrassingly now, I'm looking at all this, you know, we had one scraggly native tree on the lot where we built, and we took it out, of course, and I put back a completely non-native, you know, tree, olive tree, but seems okay. Poor habitat. All right. Lee, you're probably brain dead right now.
No, I'm fine.
I know that's a
I'm
lot.
actually I'm a medical mess at the moment, but
That's terrible.
I was camping over the weekend. I fell. A tree, I think, saved my life. I have a black eye, you can see,
Ah.
and my knee is swollen. I got x-rays this morning on my knee and on my foot, and yeah.
Did you have to hike out on the injury?
No,
Oh, okay, good.
fortunately, no.
That I usually get injured halfway in the loop. That's right. That's right. That's what I call it. I try to be careful.
I
Well,
hope you're okay, Lee. I'm sorry
yeah,
that happened.
anything broken? Is it, or they don't know yet, or?
It might be an ACL tear, and I have very small bones in my foot broken, but that's not such a huge deal. So I just have to stay off my leg for a week, and I'm going back next Monday.
Well, the foot break, yeah, no, that'll take a while to heal. So take care of that.
Yeah, it's really bad timing too. So I was gonna be, doing things this week. Yeah. But anywho, yes, I do, but I do have more time now, and at least until June, when the study that Rodney's talking about gets going in earnest.
Okay.
I'll be working on it until then. But then in June it starts like crazy full time.
Okay. That means I have you for 2 weeks.
You got me. Yeah, especially this week I can do a lot because I like have to stay off my foot. Or off my knee. So yeah.
All right, I'll try to get something over to you. That's it for me, you guys. I just wanted to keep talking about that, the zoning stuff, and you know, I'm not ready, I don't have anything concrete to tie it into yet with the commercial development stuff. Oh, the one last thing is with the commercial development, I've had having these conversations. I've had a conversation, another one with Mike Wharton of sustainability, and we actually ended up talking about private tree stuff too a lot. He had a good perspective on that. And then, but the commissioners for both for the planning, absolutely no like concern about like making these changes or moving this direction or proposing it to planning. Like the commissioners, it was Commissioner Myers and Commissioner Hool, and they both thought that this seemed like something we should look into. So it was very positive. You know, they rely on us. They're not out there researching all this and looking at it, so they're relying on us. So in the conversation, they seemed confident that this was a good direction to go and a good information to get to planning. You know, even if it's just an opinion, they thought it was good.
Good.
And
That's excellent. Thank you.
yeah, even things like the metrics, like, you know, right now the metric for the parking lot standards to come into play is about 50% redevelopment. So everyone redevelops at 49%. And so both commissioners didn't see any issue with talking about tweaking the metrics so that you can't always escape the redevelopment commitment. And so that seems good because it's kind of a weird loophole that everyone does.
Hmm.
So we're working on that. That's
Cool.
it.
All right. Well, Mary, just get with me and let
Okay.
me know. You know, you can just brainstorm and I will try to, you know, make it into an elevator pitch.
Okay, that sounds good. And I mean, I think even if we're just sort of starting to scratch the surface, the reminder that this is something to be thinking about is useful. So even, you know, even if it doesn't, it's not something that ultimately ends up in code or, you know, some the zoning, you know, literature, it'll be useful to remind people. That'd be good. Keep it at the forefront.
Yeah.
I guess I would ask to see the drafts because I'm sure I'll have feedback or things that you may not consider. Elevator pitches are always a little tricky because it's hard for people to conceptualize some of the aspects that are pretty important to be able to communicate.
Yes, that, yeah, that it's like making them briefly aware of something that they never really think about and
Right.
just take away that little piece. And they don't have to be thinking about the whole thing. You know, we've got people doing that. But they need to know that there's a group of people out here thinking about it, and this has, you know, so that's usually how I view them, as like a little awareness.
Yeah. And Lee already knows this, but I think two primary themes would be you know, long-lived trees that can reach their full size in order to provide more benefits over time, and then contiguous green spaces. Those two things are maybe the most critical aspects. Most of our trees, I believe, are short-lived, and so you know, finding a way to facilitate the planting and survival of long-lived tree species would be really huge and a big win for Athens-Clarke County.
I think that's true. Still working on that. I haven't found much sympathy for the numbers yet, as far as like how little we spend on trees, but I'm working on developing a lot of sympathy for that. But I haven't no
Yeah,
success
so
yet.
just a point of research, the white paper I read said it's $23 per tree for maintenance, and we're probably at somewhere around $1.50 per tree.
That's what I had written from last time. It's
Yeah.
more a matter of like, who do we take the money from? You know, it's like, does the money come from, you know, advanced behavioral? Does the money come from? So that's why I was asking about the budgeting thing, because like,
Yeah,
it's not, I'm not I'm not taking food from babies, but I'm sure there's room in the budget to move some over for this priority as well. But becoming a priority it's not easy to become a priority. And so I'm
it
trying.
never is anywhere in the country. That's, you know, it's easy to kind of kick urban forest maintenance and management kind of onto the back burner. It's not really seen as critical infrastructure. So one of the talking points could be that trees are critical infrastructure.
I've started to see that. I'm writing that down a lot, that as a, and also as infrastructure, like, you know, if we're not even taking care of it as well as we take care of our other infrastructure, and this infrastructure being unique in that we can't replace it. You know, it's not something we can, like, if the pipe goes in 50 years, we replace it, it's a pipe, but the tree goes in 50 years, we start over.
Right. Or the soils, especially, you know, in
Yeah.
particular, the soils.
Mhm.
The tree is a good way to visualize the health of those soils.
Yes, and I do know we are talking about soils and the healthy conditions for the plant, but the tree will be the thing that, you know, nobody knows, nobody thinks the Lorax was saving soils.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll probably have to stick to that slightly inaccurate line to get money for soils.
I understand.
Mhm. Okay, I'm done, you guys. I think are we the only committee meeting today? Everybody
I
else?
think the education
Wow.
committee is planning on
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for doing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you feel better, Lee.
Yeah, well, too.
Thank you.
And Lee, I'm just putting up some comfrey salve. I don't know if you've ever used comfrey topically. It's fantastic for soft tissue damage.
Okay.
Well, I'll email you and get your address. I can drop some off at your door. But
Oh, yeah,
I've
sweet.
broken a lot of things, and like a couple of years back, I broke both my ankles, not at the same time. But the comfrey tincture really helped heal that, because that ligament is slow to heal when you hurt it that bad. So just be kind to yourself.
I've been putting arnica and icing. So
Icing's great. Yeah. I
yeah,
thought
and just
Ice
staying
Cream
good.
and Outlander. I watched the entire series.
Yeah, I think dark chocolate might help too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that has super curative powers.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you all.
Mhm.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Holly is on.
Oh, hello.
Hey, I'm on my phone, so I'm going to mute myself until I need to talk.
I'm just glad you're here. I thought this a
Is it just you and I?
I thought, is this maybe a YouTube person joining us? No, Rodney's kind of hanging out there in the background, and I haven't heard from Stacy. Sean was not at, I think, some of the earlier meetings. He's hung up with work, so I think we could just cover what we could cover today. Did you want to go first? You'd wanted to include on the agenda the other uses, I think, for some of the webinars.
The uses of them?
Yes,
or just
or wanted,
or just sorry, go ahead.
oh, well, I mean, I think it was subjects and who was going to do them and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I liked the idea of these little shorts that I guess Joseph was talking about.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, sorry, I just had someone ride right out in front of me. I thought it would be nice to have more of them and just have them on the website, and
yeah.
So I thought it could be topics that, the education committee felt like were important, or topics that the entire council felt were important, and we could even do like a little survey of, even come up with topics and then have them rated by the council members, and then we could find speakers to do little shorts on those topics and then broadcast them live, during, every few meetings or however often we want to do them, and then archive them on the website so people could watch them. I was thinking like maybe one a quarter. That may be how often you guys already do them, but
I think
just like a.
Yeah, last year the goal had been doing them monthly, and not everybody was up for that challenge. So quarterly, I think, would be very reasonable.
I think so too, because to me, my experience with the meetings so far is they tend to run on quite a bit,
Yeah.
and get down a lot of rabbit holes. I mean, I know a lot of those conversations are important, but I think when you have such a big agenda, you have to really sort of stick with that agenda and try to move through it in a timely manner.
Yes.
And no criticism on anyone's part, but I think if one was planned every month, I think that would be really taxing to the council monthly meetings. So quarterly seems to be more realistic, and just making sure that there's space for it in the agenda, and yeah.
Especially like your idea of surveying all the membership, because we have done some in the past. I mean, I'm aware that Sean did one that was really good, and Rodney did one, both PowerPoints. One was on tree planting, and I think the other was on urban trees, the challenge of urban trees with urban trees. And there may be some others that have been done that I'm not even aware of, and so that would, I think, help everyone to know what's out there and what still needs to be done.
I think so too. There's so many topics, and I haven't seen sort of what is on the website already, but I was sort of aiming, target audience community members, Athens-Clarke County community members. It could be professionals and or, people who are largely unaware of trees. And I just, I think they're important, and I think that they would be valued and
it'd
not
be
too difficult to.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a link to some of these topics. I noticed when I was researching for grant opportunities that the Trees Atlanta had a really nice website, and it was like going down a rabbit hole because I'd go from one link to another to another. But they had several educational, and they were geared toward the general public, vignettes on tree planting and diseases in trees. And they even had a few that were geared toward children, being that so many children this past year have been homeschooled. They had one, I think, children on tree. And then there's another organization called Captain Planet that has a lot of educational material geared toward, excuse me, primary and secondary school students. And so I think it's just nice to have that available on the website. I don't know if we're only allowed so much space on the website. I'm not a techie.
Sorry, say that last bit again.
I wonder if we're just allotted so much space on the website.
Oh, well, that would be a good question. I'm sort of guessing the city probably has a huge domain, but yeah, that would be a good question to have, because I guess that'd be a question for Rodney. I don't know if maybe the city has a YouTube page, because if it did, we could upload them to the YouTube page. So the YouTube page was holding the megabytes of the video, which can be quite large, but yet we would link to it on the ACC CTC webpage. So I'm not sure how that works, but I don't even know if the city has a YouTube page or channel, rather. But that's something we should ask Rodney.
That would be great. And I noticed on there, we actually, in a way, have two websites. We have the one through the city, which links to our nonprofit website. And I think on the nonprofit website that we may be limited with the amount of material that we can include. I need to ask Jessie. If I pursue that with her, would you pursue with Rodney just finding out about the city website?
Sure. Yeah.
That'd be great. Excuse me.
Yeah, I also have. I'll ask Rodney as well about survey format of the council members, because I have access to the software Qualtrics, which is a survey software, and I could set up a really simple survey based off of, I could start with an email with our education committee and come up with some seed topics that we could brainstorm amongst ourselves. Mm-hmm. But then I could, on the survey, leave a bunch of blanks and then have ways for people to vote on them, even on the blanks, or yeah, we could come up with that, and then maybe the education committee could prioritize, the top topics. And
yeah, so. I really do like that, and you're coming up with ways that I have even been unaware of, as far as the tech aspect of it. Yeah, those are good ideas. And, one of the new members, Ernie, had mentioned during his interview process that the Tree Council has a branding problem, which I think it means that no one knows about us, really. I didn't know about us, and I was only because I was interested in doing something to help trees that, and I happened to Google Tree Council or tree committees in Athens that I was able to find out about it. And I think through the educational videos, maybe having these posted on media, I think it would really get our name out there and what we do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only way that I knew about the Tree Council was through the tree sale. Like, that's how I found out about it. And then the tree sale didn't happen anymore, and so I didn't know about it anymore. I mean, I knew about it initially, and I bought some trees, and I helped out with some of the tree sales in the years past. But yeah, that's the only way I knew about the Tree Council. I didn't see all the other. Like, there would have been no other way I knew about it.
Yeah, because you really don't hear about it. And, I hadn't really seen any public service announcements about it either. The other way I knew about it, excuse me, was from the Winterville tree. When your group did the tree ID, and I wondered about, well, does Athens have one of these? I don't live in Winterville. It seems like Clarke County should be doing something too. And, I think that's how I came to Google it and research it, find out there was one and find out how to apply for it. So I do really like the idea of doing that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we tried to reach out to, I'm still part of the Winterville Tree Commission, but when we were doing a bunch of activities, we were trying to collaborate with the Tree Council in Athens, and we didn't really have a lot of traction. I think people were excited about some of the things, like they're like, oh yeah, that'd be great to partner on that, but then nothing ever happened. And
yeah.
We had asked if the Tree Council wanted to partner on the last tree tour that we were doing, which was last year, which we didn't end up doing because of COVID. And I wasn't sure, because I was like, wow, this would be really cool for the Tree Council, like, because you guys would have so much, or us, we with CDC would have a lot more visibility with the tree walk than Winterville, I felt. And I think, one of several ways to get the name out there, just to do something fun. And
Yeah, I had understood that for a while the Athens Trade Council was somewhat inactive. I mean, I think there was, they didn't have the numbers they needed. And again, that goes back to not being visible enough to generate interest in joining. That brings me to the fall event. I was going to try to have a site visit with Randy Smith, and I think actually you and Sean and Stacy are a lot more familiar with the Sandy Creek Nature Center than I am. I've been there several times before, but it's been a while. He had asked me some questions like, instead of having, a tent for registration, do we want to use the pavilion? And I thought, well, it seems like that would be more optimal, but I wasn't sure about the location of it. So for that reason, I was thinking maybe a site visit might be a good idea.
I think so too. I mean, I'd love to join and kind of share what I was thinking, like a starting point and an ending point. And
yeah, that would be wonderful. And I understand for the summer, what will happen is we have, the education committee has a meeting for June. Then in July, everyone takes a break. It might be good to go ahead and answer Charles some of his questions in June in case we need to make additional reservations. Like, I don't know if the pavilion has to be reserved separately. He does not work on Monday. He's off on Monday, works Tuesday through Saturday. And I did run this by Rodney. I said, in lieu of our virtual meeting, could the members just site visit? And we were talking about the sunshine laws and how to be in compliance with those. And it was my understanding that as long as we let the general public know via agenda of time, the time and place, and then we publish afterwards, that would be in compliance with the sunshine.
okay.
It may be longer, we may get in trouble, but I don't think we'd go to jail on it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
So I guess what I could do.
You were thinking of meeting Randy in June, you said, or sooner?
Yeah, sometime in June. And I know all of y'all are busy, with day jobs. I don't know what Charles's hours are, but I could try to coordinate a time and place.
Okay.
Maybe out from, because I don't know who's on vacation, or if weekend time would be an option. I know this month, it sounds ridiculous. However, this is not to be impossible for me to do.
Yeah, if you throw out a few different day and time options, that would be helpful for me.
Okay. I just, how one picture is worth 1,000 words, and there were questions that came up about parking and about, the pavilion and a couple of other items he had. So it just helped to know. Oh, and one question too, since you're a person of experience with the tree ID events, are we going to need signage for the trees?
No.
Okay. Will we need to have?
We will just. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, actually, I'm actually meeting. Are you going to be at this evening with the Winterville Tree Council?
The what?
Are you going to be at the
sorry. I
meeting?
just passed a terrible wreck. The car was completely flipped over in the woods.
My God.
Anyway, sorry, am I going to be at the what?
The winter. Yeah, keep your eyes on the road. Are you going to be on the Winterville Tree Council meeting this evening?
I am, yeah.
Well, I was invited as a guest to come. So what I can do is save some of my questions for then, because they were mainly about how y'all organized and what you found helpful, and I'll have some questions. And, we talked about future meetings. I think if we could get together in June for an on-site, I think we'd be fine skipping July, and then Rodney said in August we go to the in-person meetings at the planning department, but there will be WebEx capability if someone call in or needs to call in. They can't come in person, and I probably would not be there. I don't know. I'll have to see how the numbers are going. I'm not sure I'm in agreement with CDC's mask removal.
Yeah, I know. It feels a little frightening.
So
yeah, but I think Lee forgot that I was involved in planning this tree walk, because I was like, Lee, you could have had me do an update on that at the meeting tonight. And she's like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot you were part of that. So I can add in some details tonight about just kind of what I'm thinking for the walk, like what it would look like and how the Winterville tree. I'm not going to steal your thunder, what you cover, but like how the commission could potentially partner with us, like how they could assist us or support us, with meeting their objectives as well. I'd be happy to chime in. Also, just on what I'm thinking that the actual walk is going to.
My thunder.
Well, I'm happy to talk about kind of what I was thinking about for the walk, like the number of species, and I never heard back from you guys. I know I missed a meeting about potential speakers, like if you guys wanted me to ask Dr. Johnson and Dr. Merkel. They both taught dendrology, and they might be open to being additional speakers.
Are you talking?
Anyway,
is guides for the tree ID?
Yeah. I was thinking it's really hard to get everyone in one. Like if we had 100 people show up, it's really hard for people to hear. And so I was thinking of breaking the participants into smaller groups, and they would go with
size.
I mean, ideally it would be like 10 or 15 people.
Okay.
But it could be up to 20 people. It's just sometimes it's hard for people to hear, and I think having smaller groups would be better. And so that's why I was thinking of asking some additional instructors, and then I'd be happy to lead a group. So it's like there could be at least 3 of us, that we're leading smaller groups.
I like the small group idea too. And one way, I haven't seen the trail, but when I think of a trail, I think of a place where there's not much room to spread out, which is a little bit different from the venue that Winterville Tree Council offered, where, you know, it's like a big lawn everywhere and people could form more of a circle around the speaker. Plus, we don't know what the social distancing guidelines are going to be at the time. So I'm thinking,
True. Yeah.
and on a smaller group, the smaller the group, perhaps the better. And it's, so I'm thinking it would be helpful to have them there. I mean, certainly we would have at least 20 people register. I'm thinking we could have 100.
Yeah.
And how many speakers we need is really dependent upon how many people that register. But in all fairness to the speaker, they need some lead time about the date. You know, we call up, you know, the week before and say, oh, well, can you come lead this group? Because we've had, you know, all these people register. So, yeah, if you could feel them out, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't asked them yet, but they're both great. You know, and Scott Merkel was the one who led the last one we did in Winterville, and he's a great speaker, and yeah, they're both great. And
I was
I can do that.
maybe on his tour because I went 2 years ago. The tour guide, maybe I shouldn't call them a tour guide. The tree expert was was male, and his voice was very audible.
Yeah, we had a little mic on him too.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really well done. Okay, so you're gonna follow up with the speaker. I'll follow up with trying to get the venues, the time that with Charles. Just see if we can get a consensus on that.
Okay.
I always feel better if I do things way ahead of time instead of waiting to the last minute. I know some people like that adrenaline rush, but I do not.
Yeah, I there's always plenty enough to do at the last minute that, you know, yeah, it's better to do things ahead of time. I agree.
Is there anything else that comes to mind that we could talk about now, or maybe we could just wait until this evening to cover it?
I think just deciding for the fall event if we want to have refreshments, or if I know that when we first started talking about it, Stacy was saying it would be nice to have a couple of partners come out, maybe have a couple of booths or tables with some information. We just didn't talk about specifically, like she said, Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful would be a good one, but we didn't really talk about anything else. And I don't know that we need to talk about that tonight, but I think maybe that should be talked about in the next education committee meeting. Is like, do we want to try to reach out to some other partners and just have a little bit of a presence?
Yeah. Excuse me. I went to an event, gosh, it was right before the pandemic. Actually, we'd started hearing about it, but it was before the lockdown. It was in Lexington, and it was called Rude Awakening, and Alan Armitage was one of the speakers, and Michael Durer. In fact, I won one of his trees as a door prize. I'm looking at it now.
Nice.
And you know, it was wonderfully done, and they had a number of vendors there, including Avid Bookshop, which I think has since closed, haven't they? Or did they just move?
Oh gosh, I hope not. That's so sad.
I
don't know. I didn't hear that.
They had the yellow bag composting people there. They had the Hydrangea Society had a booth. And Stacy mentioned making it family friendly or kid friendly. I'm just kind of wondering, you know, if this is the first year we're doing this, I'm just wondering about the response from the community, if it would be worth the while of folks to come set up if we only had 30 people register. I mean, I'm thinking we would have
That's true.
that.
That's true. No, it's a good point.
And someone mentioned, well, it's, well, even Randy brought this up, it's the Georgia-Florida football game weekend, so, no one else schedules anything, but I don't see, and I may be very wrong about this, I don't see that there's a big overlap on the market segments between tree people and football people. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know when that game begins, but this is going to be before noon. And, if people were going to watch it on TV and the event occurs before it starts, then it's not really a conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
My parents always watch the game on TV. Like they don't go to the games anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any games. I mean, even if it started at 12 noon, I mean, that might be somewhat of a conflict, but, we'd lose maybe 5 people on the road. I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, but I think this is something we could talk about maybe more in, when we get together in June, or we could talk about it even tonight. I think if there was really good advertising, I know even in Athens, there's some Facebook groups now. People are plant groups or people that have moved here recently and, want to know, like on nextdoor.com, what trees to plant. And that might be, if we could advertise on social media with WUGA and maybe in the flagpole as public service announcements. If we really get word out there, I think we'd have a much better registration. I can't remember how I heard about the Winterville Tree Council tree ID. Was it in the flagpole?
Yeah, we put it out in multiple locations, and that was actually a good year for advertising. We put a bunch of flyers up in places we thought people who might be interested would be interested in it, and of course that was before COVID, so a lot of people were out and about. And then we put it in the flagpole, and then we actually got a radio, like local NPR, WUGA. We got a radio segment, and so they aired that several times. And so we did like a little interview with I can't remember her name. Seth and I did, and Seth Hawkins and I. And so that really helped spread the word. And I think that was it. I think that was all that we did.
And there was a really response, but we could probably save that for this evening. So can you think of anything else we need to cover now?
Just in general for education committee?
Yes.
I can't.
I can't either. So, and the question, some of the questions I do have, it's mostly to kind of pick everyone's brains about the event you did, and we can do that this evening at 7.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've not met with the group before, so it'll be interesting to meet everybody. I know Lee's on it, but I don't recognize any of the other names.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit smaller since I was part of it, but that's just because I moved out of Winterville, and so I rolled off of it, and I had put in my 3 years, and I think that's what we had, a 3-year term that we had to do, and then another woman rolled off as well, and so we moved from 7 people to 5 people, or maybe 4 people, I can't remember. But it's been a great group, and they got some new plans coming up for the year, but I'm not sure what their educational events are, because we haven't really talked much about that this year, other than we haven't really even talked about this yet. And so it'll be good to see what the group's interest is.
Yeah. Well, it's impressive that such a small group has gotten so much done. That might be somewhat of a key to it.
Yeah, and a lot of that was when we were just three people with two shoot, what's it called? The role Rodney has.
Oh, government consultants or
Not a voting member, but
oh, ex officio.
anyway, I was forgetting the name. Yeah, it was great. We were committed. It was fun. And we had
Yeah.
a really supportive mayor and like not a lot of pushback, not the same kind of pushback that I've heard that the community tree council has had by the county or the city county. Like we had like full on support.
Yeah.
I think all of that helps with the success of things. Like we were given sort of a free pass to do a bunch of things, and it was helpful.
Is Winterfield Tree Council, are they required to comply with the sunshine laws? Or is it a 501?
It's not a 501c3, and we never talked about sunshine laws, not to the same degree that we talk about it in the council. I mean, we made our minutes public, and then we had 4 quarterly meetings that the public was open to join, and no one ever joined.
Uh-huh.
And it was a little different.
So, well, Holly, thanks so much for dialing in. And because I know you're juggling a lot of balls too. I know everybody is just, so I will see you this evening at 7.
Okay, sounds great.
Or at least hear your voice.
Yeah. You'll probably see me if you are
I think.
not joining on the phone.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.